Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. This time, we're going to be digging into the Jamaican agricultural market over the past 2 weeks, from January 25th to February 8th, 2025 to be exact. We got our hands on a pretty interesting market report, and well, let's just say there's been some action.
Definitely some excitement for sure. It's a dynamic market, that's for sure.
So our mission today is to unpack this data and hopefully give you some solid takeaways, things you can actually use whether you're a farmer, a buyer, or just interested in this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, especially in a market like this one.
So the report shows an average price decrease, like across the board, average of 0.63%. And this is across 42 commodities. At first glance, you might think, okay, things are kind of, leveling out.
Yeah, it might seem like it's calming down a bit.
That's not the whole story.
Not even close.
The average market volatility is sitting at 27.34%, which, let me tell you, that's a big jump from where we were last year around this time.
Yeah, last year, this same period, it was hovering around 18%. So this is a significant increase in volatility.
Meaning some serious price swings are happening, even though that overall average might look kind of chill.
Exactly. Beneath the surface, there's a lot going on.
So let's jump into those specifics. First up, the stars of the show. Sorrel and lettuce are absolutely crushing it. We're seeing price jumps of 31.25% for sorrel and 27.26% for lettuce.
Some big gains there, that's for sure.
So what's driving these price surges?
Well, there are probably a few factors at play here. Demand is definitely up, especially with more and more people focusing on healthy eating and local sourcing.
Makes sense. People are really getting into that farm-to-table goodness.
Yeah, exactly. And we're also seeing reports of limited supply for both sorrel and lettuce, especially in certain regions, St. Catharines, St. James, St. Anne's, St. Mary, and St. Thomas.
So those areas are definitely ones to watch if you're in the market for sorrel or lettuce. Supply and demand, the classic market forces at work. Now, I'm curious about the other side of the coin. What about the commodities that are facing some price dips?
Right, not everyone's having a party like sorrel and lettuce. We're seeing some pretty significant drops in tomato prices, both plummy tomatoes and salad tomatoes.
Oh, that's rough. How much are we talking?
Plummy tomatoes are down 19.42%, and salad tomatoes are down 17.92%.
Wow, that's a considerable drop.
It is, and it's not just tomatoes either. Hot peppers, especially the West Indian red variety, are down 18.57%.
So not a great time to be a tomato or a hot pepper farmer.
It definitely presents some challenges, but I think there are also some interesting opportunities here too.
Okay, I like where you're going with this. How can farmers turn this challenge into an advantage?
Well, one option is to explore value-added processing. Instead of selling raw tomatoes or peppers, think about turning them into sauces, jams, or other products.
Oh, I see. Like get creative and add some extra value.
Exactly. And those types of products, like a unique Jamaican hot sauce or a special tomato jam, those can often command higher prices.
And they can help create a more stable income stream.
Exactly, because you're not just at the mercy of the fluctuating prices of raw produce.
That's a really good point. So adding value through processing is definitely one way to go.
Absolutely.
What about other strategies? What else can farmers do?
Well, another option is to seek out new markets. There might be untapped regions within Jamaica or even export markets where the demand for these specific varieties is still strong.
So it's about expanding your horizons and finding those pockets of opportunity.
Exactly.
Now, what about adjusting production strategies?
Right, that's another key thing to consider. Farmers could think about diversifying their crops, maybe incorporating some of those high-performing commodities like sorrel or lettuce into the mix.
So if one crop isn't doing well, you've got others to help balance things out.
Precisely. It helps spread the risk in a volatile market.
It's like that old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Exactly. But speaking of volatility,
Oh yeah, let's not forget about that.
it's exciting and kind of scary at the same time.
Definitely a double-edged sword.
How do you even plan in a market this unpredictable?
That's the million-dollar question. When prices are swinging as much as we're seeing here, it makes accurate forecasting really tricky.
I can imagine.
For example, turmeric had the highest volatility at a whopping 73.57%.
Wow, I can't even wrap my head around that kind of price swing. How could a farmer possibly budget for that?
It's tough, that's for sure. And plummy tomatoes, even with their price dip, are also high on the volatility scale at 57.57%.
So it seems like having backup plans is crucial in this market.
Absolutely. You've got to be able to adapt quickly.
Now, Jamaica is a diverse island. with different regions experiencing their own unique market trends.
That's right. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
So how does all this play out across those different regions?
Well, when we look at the data regionally, we see some really fascinating variations in average price, in price stability, and even in what's called dominant supply status.
Dominant supply steps. I haven't heard that term before.
It basically refers to the overall availability of a commodity in a specific region. So, like, fair means there's a good amount of the product flowing through the market, while scarce means there's limited availability.
Which we saw with sorrel and lettuce.
Exactly. And that scarcity can really drive up prices.
Got it. So it sounds like understanding these regional differences is super important.
It's essential. The Jamaican agricultural market isn't a monolithic thing. Each region has its own unique dynamics.
So let's delve into those regional nuances a bit further. Are you ready to explore some specific examples?
Absolutely, let's dive in. Okay, so let's start with Clarendon. Kind of a mixed bag there. They've got an average price movement volatility of 17.32%.
So prices are jumping around a bit there.
Yeah, a decent amount of movement. But their dominant supply status is fair across most commodities.
So they've got product moving, but those prices are still kind of unpredictable.
Exactly. It means farmers in Clarendon need to be really strategic about planning and marketing.
Yeah, got to ride those waves.
Exactly. Now Hanover. That's an interesting one. They have a higher average price compared to some other areas, 587.89 to be exact.
Okay, so their products are setting a premium.
Seems like it. But their average price movement is negative 10%.
So even though prices are higher there, they're trending downwards.
That's what the data suggests.
That's a tough spot for Hanover farmers.
It is. They need to really focus on maintaining the quality of their products and making sure they're marketing those products effectively.
To justify those higher prices, especially if the market's pushing down.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance between price and value.
Makes sense.
Then we have regions like St. Catherine and St. James. Both are classified as having a scarce dominant supply status.
And we saw how that can drive up prices.
Right. Good for sellers, but it can make things tricky for buyers.
Definitely a balancing act.
This is where those strategic partnerships can be so valuable.
Like that tomato farmer in Clarendon connecting with a buyer in St. James.
Exactly. Creates a win-win for both.
It's like we're weaving a more resilient web within the market.
I like that analogy.
So we've covered a lot of ground
A
here.
lot of numbers and trends.
It's a lot to process. But what are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, the main thing is this market is constantly changing.
It's dynamic.
Exactly. Staying informed is crucial.
Can't just set it and forget it.
Right. Got to keep your finger on the pulse, both nationally and in your specific region.
And luckily, there are some great resources out there to help with that.
Absolutely. This market report is a great starting point.
All that juicy data.
And there are organizations like RADO. They provide a ton of valuable information and support for farmers.
Knowledge is power in this game.
Couldn't agree more.
Now, we talked about value-added processing as a way to add value and stability.
Right, turning those raw ingredients into something special.
Are there any specific examples from Jamaica you can share? Like products that are doing well?
Oh, tons. Jams and jellies are a great example. We're seeing some amazing locally produced jams and jellies using all those unique Jamaican fruits. Guava, mango, passion fruit.
Capturing those Jamaican flavors.
Exactly, and they tap into that growing demand for artisanal products.
People want something special, something with a story.
Exactly. Another great example is hot sauce.
Oh yeah, Jamaican hot sauce is something else.
It is. We have some incredibly talented producers here, creating these amazing small batch hot sauces, using local peppers like Scotch bonnet and West Indian red.
It's like taking those classic Jamaican flavors and elevating them.
Absolutely. And these sauces are gaining popularity both locally and internationally.
So it's about tapping into global markets as well.
Exactly. Jamaica has a long history of agricultural exports.
And we're seeing some exciting new trends emerge.
One area that's really booming is the export of organic and sustainably grown produce.
That makes sense. Consumers are more and more concerned about where their food comes from.
And how it's produced. They want transparency.
And Jamaica is well positioned to meet that demand.
Absolutely. We have fertile land and a strong commitment to sustainable farming practices.
It's about highlighting those values.
Exactly. And let's not forget about those iconic Jamaican crops. Coffee and cocoa.
Oh yeah, those are classics.
They've always been in demand internationally. But we're seeing a renewed interest in specialty and single origin varieties.
Like Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee.
Exactly. It's renowned for its quality and flavor.
It's like Jamaica has this incredible agricultural heritage. And we're now seeing a resurgence of interest in those traditional crops.
But with a modern twist.
Blending tradition and innovation.
You got it.
Okay, so we've got these exciting opportunities.
Value-added processing, export markets.
But let's circle back to those challenges for a moment. Specifically that volatility we talked about.
Right. That uncertainty can be tough to deal with.
How can farmers manage that risk?
Well, one approach is contract farming, where farmers enter into agreements with buyers to sell their produce at a preset price.
So it's like locking in a price, creating a sense of security.
Exactly. And another strategy is to diversify your income streams.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Precisely. Maybe you supplement your farming income with agritourism, or explore niche markets like supplying restaurants with specialty produce.
So it's about creating multiple revenue sources.
Exactly. It helps buffer against those price fluctuations.
Now, you mentioned dominant supply status earlier.
Right. The fair versus scarce classification.
Can you give us a concrete example of how that plays out in the market?
Sure. Let's take pumpkin. In St. Elizabeth, the dominant supply status for pumpkin is currently fair.
So plenty of pumpkins available there.
Exactly. Good news for buyers in St. Elizabeth. They have options and can probably negotiate good prices.
Makes sense.
But in St. Anne, the dominant supply status for pumpkin is scarce,
Limited supply.
which means sellers in St. Anne are in a strong position
They can command higher prices.
because of that limited availability.
So it really highlights the importance of understanding those regional dynamics.
Absolutely. It's not just about national trends, it's about what's happening in your local market.
You need to know your market inside and out.
Couldn't agree more.
Now, we've talked a lot about data and trends,
They're in numbers.
but farming is about people too.
Absolutely. It's hard work.
And it can be stressful, especially with all this volatility.
Definitely a demanding profession.
Do you have any advice for farmers who might be feeling overwhelmed or discouraged?
My advice would be to connect with other farmers, build a support network.
You're not alone.
Exactly. There are organizations and communities out there that can provide guidance, resources, and a sense of camaraderie.
It's about building those connections.
Absolutely. Sharing experiences and supporting each other.
And speaking of connection, I want to touch on the power of collaboration in this market.
We've talked about it a lot today.
It's a recurring theme.
Whether it's farmers working together or buyers and sellers connecting, collaboration is key for navigating this market.
It's like we're all part of a larger ecosystem.
Exactly. And by working together, we can make that ecosystem stronger and more resilient.
Creating a more prosperous future for everyone involved.
I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. We're all in this together, right? And that sense of community and collaboration is what makes the Jamaican agricultural sector so special. But okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, but before we wrap things up, we want to leave you with a little something to think about, a final thought-provoking question. You ready for it?
Hit me with it.
All right, so we've explored the volatility, those regional differences, the challenges, those exciting opportunities. So considering all that we've talked about today, what strategic partnerships or collaborations could farmers explore to really thrive in this market? What could they do to really make the most of it all?
Ooh, that's a good one. It's a question that should spark some serious innovation and some out-of-the-box thinking.
It's about pushing those boundaries.
Exactly. Imagine, for example, farmers pooling their resources together to establish a shared processing facility.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
That way they could produce value-added products more efficiently and bring down those costs.
Smart. It's about leveraging their collective power, working together to overcome those challenges that might hold them back individually.
Exactly. Or picture this. Farmers creating direct connections with restaurants and hotels.
Cutting out the middleman.
Creating those stable, consistent supply chains that benefit everyone involved.
Building those relationships.
Exactly. It's about those mutually beneficial relationships.
Yeah.
That's what strengthens the entire sector.
Love it. So it's about thinking beyond the traditional models, forging new paths, and finding those creative solutions.
Absolutely. And here's another thought. Partnering with tech companies.
Oh, now you're talking.
Imagine using data analysis and market forecasting tools to help farmers make better decisions about what to plant, when to sell, how to really optimize their operations.
It's like giving them a superpower. That kind of data-driven approach could be a game changer.
It really could. And hey, while we're on the topic of innovation, let's not forget about research and development.
Ooh, okay.
Imagine farmers collaborating with agricultural scientists.
Okay, I'm listening.
They could work together to develop those new crop varieties that are more resilient to things like climate change or pests, or maybe even explore innovative, sustainable farming techniques. Techniques that can increase productivity and protect the environment at the same time.
That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Combining that practical on-the-ground knowledge with scientific expertise.
You got it. Bridging that gap can lead to some incredible breakthroughs.
So really, the possibilities are endless when it comes to collaboration. It's about being open to new ideas, embracing those partnerships, and having that courage to experiment and to try new things.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And remember, you don't have to do it all alone. There are organizations, resources, and mentors out there.
A whole community ready to support you on that journey.
Exactly. So reach out, connect, collaborate, and innovate.
The future of Jamaican agriculture is bright. It really is. And it's being shaped by those who are embracing this dynamic market and seizing those opportunities. Well said. And on that note, we're going to wrap up our deep dive for today. We hope you've surfaced with some valuable insights and maybe even a renewed sense of excitement about what's possible within the Jamaican agricultural market.
And don't forget to check out the show notes for a link to the full market report and those resources we talked about.
Until next time, happy farming, happy buying, and happy navigating those ever-changing tides of the market.